Is the Xiaomi 17 if the Xiaomi 17 Max just a 17 Pro Max without the camera bump, or is it a Redmi K90 Pro Max without the subwoofer? I saw online that the motherboards of the 17 Max and the K90 Pro Max are very similar. Is that actually true? Well, let's take them apart and swap the motherboards to see if they boot up. That'll give us the answer. Congratulations on finding this teardown video while your battery is at 7%. A bunch of people in the May group were pushing for the Xiaomi 17 Max, so just 2.5 days after it went on sale, I spent $4,799 to buy a 256GB white model for a hands-on teardown. As for the exterior design, the Xiaomi 17 Max's deco is entirely blacked out, which I personally think looks better than the 4 big skulls on the standard Xiaomi 17. Also, I've seen people online these past few days saying that this 17 Max might just be a way to clear out stock for the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max or the K90 Pro Max. Honestly, I don't think that's the case, and even if it were, that would be perfectly normal, right? Look at the iPhone 17 from the inventory killer. Plenty of consumers still buy it, right? Judging by the antenna layout on the body, this Xiaomi 17 Max looks very different from the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. Instead, its antenna is quite similar to the Redmi K90 Pro Max. Moving on to the camera layout, the main and ultra-wide cameras are identical on both phones, but the periscope telephoto lenses are shifted, one to the right and one to the left, and the flash positions also differ. To see if they are just rebadged versions of each other, we have to open them up and take a look. I have to say, if they really share that many parts, the Redmi K90 Pro Max users are getting a massive bargain. Because the new 17 Max is $4,799, while the K90 Pro Max is only $3,999. If you can accept a used one, a K90 Pro Max on Zhuanzhuan is only $2,700 now, which is really much cheaper. It is hard to find the same specs at this price for a new phone, and for used phones, I think Zhuanzhuan is quite reliable. Okay, without further ado, let's start the teardown. Now, first use a heating pad to heat the back cover for 2.5 minutes. Then after using a prying tool to open it, you can see that the IP68 and IP69 adhesive on this phone is truly very thick. It is arguably the phone with the most intense waterproof adhesive I have seen recently. Just look at the amount of structural adhesive on this subboard. It's applied everywhere it possibly could be. Okay, with the back cover removed, it's made of glass. And if you look closely, there's been an improvement in the craftsmanship. The camera deco not only uses integrated CNC metal machining, but the connection between the deco and the back panel also uses the same laser spot welding process as Apple. Just like the deco and VC liquid cooling parts of the iPhone 17 Pro Max we took apart before, they both use this process. The advantage is that it's firmly secured without affecting heat dissipation, while the downside is that the manufacturing cost is higher. Okay, let's take a look at the internal structural design of the Xiaomi 17 Max. On a scale of 1 to 91, what score would you give it? The biggest difference in internal layout between the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max is that the battery takes up significantly more space. Comparing it to the Redmi K90 Pro Max, the internal proportions are quite similar. Let's remove the motherboard cover. The motherboard cover integrates a rear microphone, a single color temperature flash, an ambient light sensor, an infrared emitter, and a laser focus module. There is also a detail. The small components on top are all sealed with glue, and it is mint green, as if they were afraid we wouldn't notice. Flipping to the back of the motherboard cover, you can see that the corresponding cable connector positions are also fitted with cushioning foam. Or what else is there to say? Xiaomi's build quality and feel have improved significantly compared to 2 years ago. Thumbs up, the wireless charging coil underneath supports 50 watts of wireless charging power. Next, we remove the camera module. Looking at this camera configuration, the main camera is a 1.41-inch Samsung S5 KHP-9200 megapixel sensor. The ultra-wide is a 2.88-inch 50-megapixel OmniVision OV50M sensor. This single reflection 3x optical zoom periscope telephoto uses a 1.95-inch 50-megapixel Sony IMX882 sensor, and the front camera is a 32-megapixel OV32D. You can see the overall camera specs in the image. They are definitely still quite a bit behind the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. Compared to the Redmi K90 Pro Max, the two are fairly evenly matched in terms of camera specs. The 17 Max has a higher megapixel main camera, while the K90 Pro Max has a better telephoto lens. Next, removing the motherboard, you can see that it uses a dual-layer stack design to make room for the camera module. The performance trio consists of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 LPDDR5X and UFS 4.1. Additionally, this motherboard features Xiaomi's self-developed P3 power management chip, the T1 signal enhancement chip, and more. There's quite a lot of self-developed tech here. Under the motherboard, we can also see the vapor chamber protrusion, which also uses the laser spot welding process we mentioned earlier. Okay, here is the main point. There is an image online claiming that the motherboards of the Redmi K90 Pro Max and the Xiaomi 17 Max are 91% similar. So, are these two phones actually just rebadged versions of each other? Let's go ahead and swap their motherboards to find out. After taking them both apart, I carefully compared the general layout. You know, it really doesn't look that different at first glance, but if you look closely, there are definitely differences like the ribbon cable connectors in the middle, for example. So the claim that they are identical rebadged phones just doesn't hold up. Now let's swap their motherboards and see if they can still boot up. Which one is the Redmi K90 Pro Max motherboard again? Let me think. Oh, I think it's this one. Okay, so when I try to put the motherboard into the frame, it doesn't fit. As you can see, the shapes of some corner areas are designed differently, so it won't snap in. There is also a small notch specifically designed at the top, so for those wanting to try and boot it up,
I can only stand this motherboard up, then connect the battery as well as the main and sub-board ribbon cables to see if it can power on. Okay, now it is time to witness a miracle.
It's not responding at all, guys. Why is that? Look, the battery models for these two phones are different. One is MB75, the other is MB8C. Even the ribbon cable connector won't fit tightly, so expecting it to turn on is just wishful thinking, man. Come on, let's keep looking. I checked the top speaker. This Xiaomi 17 Max uses the AAC 1115X specification, which is higher than the 1014 spec used in the Xiaomi 17 Ultra and Pro Max.
So, continuing with the teardown, I'll remove the charging port daughter board. The data transfer speed is the same as the 17 Pro Max USB 3.2 Gen 1. I ran it through the hidden parameters and it clocked in at 5 gigabits per second. There are 2 microphones on this board, plus the 2 on the main board and its cover, making 4 in total. This is a very premium setup. Keep in mind the Xiaomi 17 Ultra only has 3. Looking at the bottom speaker, it also uses the 11115X, which is symmetrical to the top speaker. Now let's compare the sound quality of the Xiaomi 17 Max with its siblings, the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the K90 Pro Max, to see which is better. After listening, in terms of sound quality, there really is no phone that can compete with the K90 Pro Max. Under the speaker, you can see the corresponding touch IC is the S3910V from Synaptics, which is the same model as the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. The motor in the bottom right is the same 0809 model as the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, but note, this Xiaomi 0809 motor is a 4mm thickened custom version, which is stronger than the standard 3.5mm 0809 motors in other phones. Removing the battery, it uses a single cell with a dual interface design. The wired charging power reaches 100 watts, and the battery capacity is 8000 mAh. The battery is manufactured by Dongguan Ningde. The cell size is 56.69 by 90. Those looking to upgrade the cell themselves can take note. That covers the internal components. Now that it's disassembled, which would you choose? The K90 Pro Max or the Xiaomi 17 Max? Let me know in the comments.